Today, we're going to talk about a critical process for most companies, and that is the purchasing process. And as the slide says, a solid purchasing process is the very heartbeat of your business. So it's really nice to be talking to you today on Valentine's Day, and kind of nice that we're mentioning heartbeat and embracing on this day. All right, so we've run our business for 25 years now, and our business is really to help our clients improve their business, and that very often includes helping them to implement a solid purchasing system. So I'm Paul Caron. I want to start with a short introduction to our firm, and after my introduction, I'll hand things over to Louise, who will walk you through the purchasing process in our ERP system. So like all of you on the call today, we're connected to the mining industry. And in light of the green energy economy, it feels good to support an industry that's critical to this movement. Just a little aside on that point, here's one example, the demand for copper, projected electrical vehicle production. You know, the light blue is the impact that we're going to see with EVs, light duty EVs, electrical cars on the copper industry. It's really quite dramatic. You know, and the headlines just keep coming, right? All about the green energy transition. And mining is mentioned over and over again as a key component to the green energy transition. So it really feels good to be involved with this. You see that, you know, Elon Musk and Tesla as industry drivers, they're taking a very, very direct approach to the supply of lithium. And, you know, Bill Gates has got some comments on his approach to solving climate goals as well. So it's quite interesting and exciting to be involved with the industry. Well, you can't build electric cars without mining, and you can't run mines without a solid business support system, and that's where we come in. We provide ERP solutions to mining companies and to industries that are closely connected to mining. And of course, as all of you know, there's many related industries like engineering, consulting, like our firm, safety suppliers, HR services, and you know, the list goes on. And today I'm going to talk about several related companies. So mining companies, obviously, distributors who distribute product to the mining industry, manufacturers of mining equipment, and construction companies are all companies and industries related to mining. And all four of these industries have a strong demand for a good functional purchasing system. And as a matter of fact, in these industries, and as in many industries, a bad purchasing system can actually really harm your financial results. So when I was preparing for this webinar, I wrote a blog on our website, and I highlighted what to look for in a good purchasing system. And there's really 5 traits. You know, the system has to have intelligence. You have to have KPIs and a dashboard that can quickly show you what's important to the purchasing department. It has to have strength. It's got to have deep purchasing functionality. Entry-level systems generally don't have that. You need more than just a very small, light purchasing function. You need the deep functionality. Control. In mining and in many larger industries, control and authorization is absolutely critical. So your system has to have approvals, workflows to approve purchases. You have to ensure control through this process. And it's got to be traceable. So I'm an accountant and I want to be able to look at the entries that happen in the general ledger. I have to have a clear path all the way through to the original transaction so we can audit, control, and measure what we're doing. And lastly, the system has to be affordable. You know, our go-to-market strategy is really about providing our clients with tier 1 functionality at a tier 2 cost. And that's what we try to do. The system has to be affordable because our clients are not, you know, huge multinational organizations of billions of dollars in revenue. Our clients are small to mid-sized businesses that are growing, and they need to be able to afford the system. This year, we celebrate our 25th year in business, and a lot has changed from supporting local businesses in almost any industry to now serving mining-related businesses all over the world. We now work in North and South America, and we have a lot of activity in Africa. And Another change that we've seen in these 25 years is the move to cloud computing. And for several years, we've seen ERP vendors really struggle with the transition to cloud solutions. So when we wanted to find a cloud solution, we chose Acumatica because of the fact that it's got great functionality, for example, in purchasing, which we'll see today. In fact, it's the only tier 2 ERP that's developed after the year 2000. So we're not dealing with old technology. We're not bringing a DOS-based system to the cloud. We're dealing with a true cloud system. And the fact that Acumatica is always adding new features really appealed to us. So as an example, there's many clients in the professional services industry that use Acumatica already. But this year, they released a brand new professional services edition to enhance the functionality. And they did a similar thing years ago with the construction edition. So the product is constantly improving. And more importantly, we believe that by implementing Acumatica together with our services, we really truly can deliver the tier 1 functionality that our clients need at less than 50% of the cost. So without further ado, I've talked enough. Let me turn the presentation over to Luis for a peek at the purchasing functionality in Acumatica.
Thank you, Paul. Hello, everyone. My name is Luis Palmer. I'm the Director of Services at Caron Business Solutions, and I'm speaking to you today from Lima, Peru. So let's review the agenda together, right? So first, we're going to talk a little bit about Acumatica. As Paul mentioned, that is one of the solutions that we currently implement for our clients. Then we will review the Purchasing Manager dashboard. As Paul mentioned, one of the key aspects of a purchasing system should be an intelligent system. Then we're going to walk through the purchases order workflow and their approval maps. We will also review the landed cost without a calculation. And if we have some extra time, we will demo the purchase requisition features. In this webinar, I will present the Acumatica platform, which not only includes a true cloud-based ERP, but also extends the functionality with security, backups, load management, and database administration. This platform also includes unlimited users and open doors to import, modify, or extract data from your system. That is one of the key benefits of a cloud solution. So let's get started. For today's presentation, I quickly set up a demo environment on my local machine, where I create a Caron Business Solution company with sample data. And I'm going to log in as an admin user just for this demo purpose. The first thing you will see when you log into the system is the landing page. For this case, I assign the Purchasing Manager as the default landing page. You can define also which company or branch do you want to use at any moment. Also, having the possibility to set up the business day is very helpful for the accounting team. For example, if you change it, the system will automatically modify all their values considering this new business day. So let's choose December 2023. Let's click OK. Now look again at the dashboard. The system will refresh the data considering this new date. Now, going in detail in the Purchasing Manager dashboard, as you can see, the system displays different KPIs with different colors, and also charts with important information. These KPIs are not only informational or graphical description of something happening. They also provide the filter or portal that we can use to drill down on the data that can help us to make correct decisions. Let's use, for example, the late order KPI. When you click in this box, you will open a new tab with the transactional data that was feeding that metric. The system also is smart enough to flag this column as red, the same as the KPI. And from here, you can see in detail what actions you can take. We call this drill down. You can establish filter also on every table in Acumatica. For example, we can create this drill down setting with the conditions that we can save and even share with our team. And you can also see the details of every purchase order on the side view of this page. For example, I have the first order selected. I click on purchase order, and the system will automatically display the same information from that PO. We call this drill around. Now, let's imagine that the purchase manager identified that this purchase order is late because had a problem. Maybe he wants to attach a note on this document as reference for other users. In Acumatica, you can create a note for the whole document. For example, if I click here, I can delete and I can put test and click OK. Or you can create for every record line. So for example, for every record of this purchase order, let me expand a little bit here, I can create a note. So if I have a problem with the whole PO, I can create a note here. If I have a problem for only one item of this PO, I can click here and put test demo. And the system will automatically create this note for that. But that's not all. You can also set up triggers inside of Acumatica, and they call them business events. For example, let's review how to send an email notification when something changed on this purchase order. In order to do this, let's duplicate, and let's open business event. Which is nice about Acumatica is that you have a kind of a universal search here on the top in every moment that you are using the system. And just when you put the text here, you can have a search for every option that you have available. So let's go to business event. And let's search for purchase. In this case, I create an event that for every record will notify when a new note is added. You can define different conditions to trigger those notifications. In this case, I put when the type is normal, but you can have as many as you want. You can also create email notifications related to this. This tool for Acumatica is very powerful. Now, let's go back to Purchasing Manager dashboard. And I want to show you why also Acumatica is top ranked in terms of usability. Because without having any development skills, just by clicking on the design button, I can create and, for example, add a new widget. You have available different types of widgets as charts, data tables, KPIs, and even pivot tables. We can also edit or delete any of these KPIs. Please note that Acumatica already includes standard roles, reports, and dashboards since the first day of the implementation. Now that I've shown you how dashboard works in Acumatica, let's go a little bit deeper on our purchase roadmap. And let's create a new purchase order. To do this, let's go to Purchase, Workspace, and let's create a new purchase order. Instead of creating a blank one, I would like to take the opportunity and show you one nice copy feature that is included in the tool. I think this is related very with what Paul said, that the system should be smart. So let's use the latest PO as template. I can enter, I can click on copy, I can click on add a new record, and I can just paste. The system automatically brings all the information from the previous PO. I'm going to put webinar test 3, and I'm going to save it. So far, we can see that the system, as soon as I save it, automatically calculate all the taxes corresponding to the Canadian rate. Also, we can define here the shipping information if we want to ship to a defined branch, a defined customer, vendor, or warehouse. We also have available the vendor information that we define here. We can have the account name from the vendor and all the contact information, and even the terms of payment. And all the PO history and prepayment that is going to start fulfilling or populated during the process that we are going to do. So let's return to the detail page to show you some tricks in the items grid. In Acumatica, you can rearrange the column just using drag and drop. For example, if I decide that I want to line, I just drag and drop here. You can also add or remove columns using the column configuration. So you just have to click here, and the system will display all the columns available for this purchase order. You have the available columns, the selected columns, and you can move as you want it. Let's use any other thing like SO link maybe, and we can add as we want anything else. Click OK, and the grid will automatically refresh. You can also change the view from the grid to a form if you want to. So you can enter the information one by one using this form view, or you can do it with the grid. And one of the most used features for our clients is that you can export this grid as an Excel file, and you can also do the opposite. You can import all the information or load record from a file of a previously created. Now, before starting to move to the PO to different status, I would like to show you how the standard workflow that is created is already included in Acumatica. So if you click here on customization and show a state diagram, maybe let me kind of trying to open a little bit more and try to simplify here. Maybe this workflow looks a little bit complex, right? But in reality, it contains the basic status that a PO can have. What is very interesting is that you can modify this workflow without having to touch the code. We can add new status with new conditions, right? Without having to contact a developer, okay? So now let's remove the whole status. And as you can see, the system automatically generates an approval process. If we go to the approvals tab, we will see that the system automatically adds an assignee. In this case, an admin, so myself, okay? For this case, for this webinar, I create a simple approval workflow that assigns the document to myself, okay? So before following with the approve process, I would like to show you a little bit more about this functionality. So let's duplicate this page and let's use the search again and put the approval map. Sorry for the typo, guys. And let's go for approval maps. One nice feature is that you don't have to put exactly the same text that is going that the menu that you want to enter need to have. In this case, the system is smart enough to search for all the cases that have that word. So let's search for approval maps. And as you can see, you can have different entities with approvals. Let's choose the approval map, in this case, for purchase order. Here, as I mentioned before, I create a step special for this webinar where I'm filtering all POs with that particular vendor. So all PO with that particular vendor, I assign it to be approved by myself. So these are the conditions that you can create as many as you want. And these are the rules. In this case, I am putting myself as an employee and admin as well. But you can have as many steps and complexity that you require with different rules and conditions. For example, we can have different conditions with different steps, okay? Also, you can define a notification template where the approver can do the job directly from their email. So they don't have to even enter right into the system to validate if they have a pending approval purchase order. So let's open and to see that. So I'm going to do an email template. And I'm going to filter by purchases. Okay, purchase, maybe. Okay, so I'm going to look for purchase order approval email template. As you can see, we can even edit the notification to see as pretty as our webinar invitation. And here, the person who is the approval will automatically receive an email with the link to do the approval. Now, let's return to the original purchase order and just approve the document. Now, let's create the PO receipt. The system will bring the information automatically, and let's save it and remove the hold. Then we can release it. So in that way, we follow the process of the purchase receipt. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer because I have it in my local machine, not in a cloud environment. So now that the document has been released, we are ready to follow. So a good thing to have everything coexisting in the same database in Acumatica without any folder or module is that all information is tied together. As you can see here in the PO receipt, it's automatically linked with our original purchase order. So we will here, we will see that we have the original purchase order. And not only we have the item, we can also click and return to the original PO that we created. Also, we can see from here on the other tab, the impact on our transaction in our GL. We can see here, and if we go here, we can see the impact of that purchase receipt, how our accounts of inventory and clearing were modified with that value. We can also create a return here, or we can enter an APBO. Let's do that. So here we need to complete the vendor reference, which are already been there. And as you see, every information from the PR has came automatically. Okay, so let's remove the hold and release the bill. One extra thing to consider here is that we can also create approval maps over AP documents like this bill as well. You can see the impact of this bill also in our general ledger. Everything is tied into the same workflow. Now let's hit pay. And for this webinar, what I did is I assigned the cash payment method for this vendor. However, Acumatica supports other types. For example, let me open payment method. We have available ACH, cash, checks, EFT, and even credit card like Visa. So let's fill the payment reference and let's remove the hold. Oh, sorry. Oh, maybe I put a ready value, something like that. Now that we release the payment, you can see all the application history in this tab, where you can track, all the AP bill with the GL impact as well. As you've seen it, we were able to run the whole purchase order process from the PO creations, PO receipt, then we're working on approval. We have been able to send email notifications, create AP bill, and then do the payment, And what I really liked about this process is that we were able to run it in the same workflow without having to change or navigate between any module, right? Also, everything shown here was standard. You will not have to buy any third-party tool. Having said that, Acumatica is powerful enough to filter the whole process status and field on this screen, based on your role, company, or even branch access. So now let me do a quick stop here and ask Paul if he wants to add something over my demo.
Thanks, Luis. That's really clear and good presentation. I think what I want to talk about a little bit here is this concept of landed cost, which is a very important feature in purchasing. I'm just going to steal the screen for 1 second here. So we are not big believers in extensive customization of your ERP solution, and we advise our clients to avoid that. Because customizations can be complex, they can really inhibit upgrades, and generally your ERP solution should handle most functionality without extensive upgrades. But there can be, without a lot of work, there can be some small changes to the system that can be done as customizations, and as long as they're done properly, with proper testing and documentation and source code, they can really make a difference. And here's one that we did for a client, and the concept of landed cost. So very important concept, because the cost of getting something into your inventory is not just the price of the product, but it's the freight, it's the broker cost, and those can be quite significant. So when all of the documentation arrives together, no problem. You post the invoice, you post the additional cost, and then your landed cost is all of those things added up. But there can be a delay. And quite often what can happen for really fast moving organizations is they get the receipt, they get the product in, they get the vendor invoice, but the freight, broker, etc., they're going to come later, but it's too late. They've already issued that part to maintenance department, or they've already expensed it somehow. So now all of the landed costs come in. The cost of the product was recorded as too low because it was missing those, and the landed costs just need to be expensed. So one of our clients said, look, this is a common problem with ERP solutions, but we know approximately what the landed cost factor is going to be. We know that if we buy from the US, it's going to be about 10%. If we're buying from Canada, maybe it's 5%. Can we put an approximation through so we're more or less correct, and then we can adjust it at month end? So that's a customization that we did, an example of how we can improve the system with small tweaks and small customizations that can add to it. And Luis can just demonstrate that to you. in our solution.
So let's open purchases and landed costs. In Acumatica, as Paul mentioned, you can create landed cost entry. This is a standard functionality where you can define the vendor, right, and the amount based on in the cost or percentage to apply, right, and attach that to any purchase receipt. In this case, to a purchase order that you want to add it, right? This is standard functionality, as Paul mentioned, it works for most of the company. So, but however, one of the clients wants to automate this process. So I want to take this opportunity to show you how powerful also Acumatica can be, right? We extended the Acumatica standard functionality, allowing our client to set up a factor landed cost based on percentage or fixed value per vendor to allow Acumatica to directly calculate this landed cost without any user intervention. So let me show you an example of that. So first, let's go to purchasing settings. Here, we add a couple of checkboxes that allow us to choose between the landed cost per percentage or based on an amount. You can also notice that the checkboxes are smart, and if you have one select, the system will not allow you to select the other option before you remove the previously one. So that's one part of the change. Now let's see the vendor page and look for our Luis vendor entry. So let's go to vendor. And let's filter Luis. And as you can see here, we add this custom value to allow us to calculate a 10% factor landed cost. So the system will automatically calculate based on this rate. So why we don't just create another purchase order and show how this functionality works? Okay, so now let's quick create another purchase order and see what happens. We'll go to purchase again. Let's use the latest one. Let's copy. Let's create a new one. Sorry, guys, if I'm going too fast here, but I already present to you the workflow. Let's remove the hold, do the approval, and enter the PO receipt. So now the PO receipt is completed, or at least it's released. Let's go to see order. So as I showed you before, we show the impact of the GL. But also, if you go here on the bottom, you will have an in adjustment entry. So if I click here, as you can see, the system automatically calculates a new entry for the 10% of the value of that PO. So just to double check, let's go and return to the details, and the details of the total cost, it was 1,350 with a land cost factor of 10%, and the system automatically, without any user intervention, create a new entry. And this entry obviously has also a GL impact here, where they impact the inventory and the freight accounts. This scenario is valid for clients that doesn't have, as Paul said, the full information of the landed cost when they are entering the purchase information. So they have applied this factor that later in the month they can reconcile or recalculate, right, with the real freight cost. This is just an example of how powerful and flexible Acumatica can be. I don't know how we are in terms of time right now, but I think we're okay. So I have one extra thing to you. Sometimes you have to buy a big product. That makes sense to do it asking to your vendor to bid for the price, right? So Acumatica supports this process using the purchases requisition. Since I don't have a lot of time, I'm not going to be able to run the whole scenario, but I want to take just a couple of minutes to lay out the process for you. So let's open a new requisition. Okay. Where we can put a description, let's say big product, right? We can define a customer allocation, but it's not mandatory, right? And we can define also and add the product that we want to buy. We can search here on the inventory ID. And I'm going to put here, I think it was big product. And I'm going to call it big buy. We can define which warehouse we want to deliver it, right? And also here, we can add based on the inventory ID, but we can also add item based on the inventory lookup. So the system will bring now which of the items have zero stock available. We can also add requested items that were created by our team previously. Okay, so now that the requisition is created in terms of which product we need to buy, we can also define the shipping and the bidding. The important thing here is that we can define which vendor, in this case, we are going to open the first two, which vendor we want to add to the bid. Okay, and we can also remove the hold on this. Which is nice here is that you can send this automatically, this request for proposal emails with the information to the vendor that we decide. And when we have the bidding process completed, you can automatically create the purchase order or the sales order on that. So I hope you found this presentation very helpful.
Please feel free to reach out to us. There's our contact information. As we mentioned earlier, what we do is we help our clients improve their business and through the implementation of ERP solutions. And what we've talked about today is the fact that a proper purchasing system is really, really important to a company. And as a matter of fact, getting it wrong can have financial consequences the other way. So we'd love to talk to you about your requirements and see if we can help you. Thank you very much for attending.